So through this Neuralink technology, they do have the ability to take over your hands, your limbs, to take something that you're holding and throw it or drop it. They do have the ability to, from wherever they are, communicate to you. It's a technology that they actually have right now that they call telepathy. That's the closest thing that I can, that's one of the closest things that I can liken it to. Also, just basic two-way communications, the same way that you would have with, if you had, an infantryman out on the, somebody with a radio who can radio back. I am aware that they have the ability to jump on a headset or get into it somehow. Anyways, they're able to even talk shit to some of the people that they have neural monitoring, that they have injected and implanted. They're actually able to talk trash to those people anytime. They are apparently able to hit buttons to make you go pee pee and poo poo. They're able to do things to make a woman start her period right away. As I was saying before, they were collecting the used feminine products from the garbage for stem cell testing. That's why all of a sudden they've got all these new breakthroughs in stem cell research and stuff like that, because they were coming in and stealing some of our pads. Yeah, they were paying crackheads and, weirdos to go through trash and separate used feminine products from the trash, bag up, and, they'd get paid for turning it in, but we wouldn't get paid for their products that we created or whatever. Because it's technically illegal harvesting. It's DNA, tissue and sample harvesting. Yeah, and they were never planning on showing any appreciation or gratitude to the people that they took the samples from and got all the breakthroughs and, signed cures for cancer and everything else that was so important. They couldn't show them any gratitude or appreciation. They were planning on continuing harvesting and stealing from those people. They take all of the credit for the cures that are created. They act like they did that personally, like they didn't have people trafficked and tortured and executed. They're supposed to be able to use their tech to be able to influence your moods. And apparently they were doing this to me a lot while I was a teenager, especially. I'm told that they were doing a lot of witchcraft and a lot of what they like to call magic. But part of what they're calling magic is actually tech language, computer science language, computer language, code. They're supposed to be able to make a body feel aroused. And they are also supposed to be able to remotely have spiritual SA relations or sexual relations with you. Like, they've taken it to a whole other level. They want to come in invisibility suits, and then they want to also remotely access you on a sexual level. Or they talk about spiritual gang banging and spiritual grape. And honestly, it's stupid for you guys to tell us that we can't say rape in a culture wherein you guys don't hold yourselves and each other accountable for that crime specifically. And molestation too, to the point that we have to actually talk about it and make videos about it, because it's really come to like such a drastic and dire time frame, and you guys have taken it to such an extreme other level that we're having to talk about it to let people know how bad things are, so that they can figure out what to do to protect us. It's really that bad. If that's even possible. I'm not sure that anyone can do anything to actually protect us from what's happened and from what's happening. I'm not sure that you guys can do anything to change it. And I'm not sure that you would want to do anything to change it. Because for all I know, you're all sex offenders like that. It's like expecting these hillbillies to hold one of their hillbilly cousins or brothers accountable for going and messing with one of the neighbor's dogs, one of the neighbor's kids or teenagers or whatever. Like, you can't expect that hillbilly family to do anything about it. That hillbilly family's done, and messed with all them dogs and kids. They don't care. Why would you expect them to do anything about it? And that's what it's like to ask, I guess, some Republicans or Democrats to, or law enforcement agencies, for help with justice on, with sex crimes. So anyways, they can remotely access you if you're neural monitored with eye cameras and all that other stuff, or AI injected or whatever, all this other stuff that they do. They can actually do things to control your body and control your mind and your spirituality and your sexuality, and when you use the bathroom and when you start your periods and all that stuff. They can do that. There are some things that you can fight with them a little bit about control over, like if they want you to let me rephrase that. There are ways that you can overcome the power behind these chips and devices. In some ways, some people, you know what I mean? When it comes to, I almost forgot to tell you guys that all this stuff has the power to wipe memories. So it could literally have the power to remove memories, try to wipe your slate full clean, to make you forget complete sections and chunks of your life. But as I was saying, there are ways to kind of overcome this. And one of the ways that I've found, honestly, is God. And I'm going to give you some Bible here. The Bible does explain that the Holy Spirit has the power to bring all things to your remembrance. So if you have the Holy Spirit, no matter what happens to you, it doesn't matter if people put microchips in your brain or they inject you with AI, biological substances, and put cameras in your eyes or whatever they might do to you. It doesn't matter. If you have the Holy Spirit and you're connected to the Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit will bring all things, anything that He knows that you need to know in order to accomplish, the mission that He has set out for you, and according to His calling on your life. the Holy Spirit will bring all things back to your remembrance. It doesn't matter who tries to take your memory or your data bank away from you. And everyone who commits atrocities against you, they will ultimately pay some kind of price for that. No bad or good deed goes unnoticed by the other side. So as you can see, there's ways to overcome, and that isn't just phooey. I absolutely 100% believe in that. But also just having that positive attitude and having something bigger and greater than myself to appreciate and to believe in and to depend on, or just having a positive attitude in general, that can be helpful. But when we're talking about the entire world that around you being paid to abuse you, and, parts and pieces of things being placed inside you for people to abuse you, it gets complicated. It gets upsetting. It's quite discouraging. It's a really sad state of affairs, especially when you're just left out and just ignored by the whole world. Like, they've done a lot to a lot of people. That's part of the reason why they're like, oh, all these homeless people are missing. Yeah, all those homeless people are missing. Remember when Biden said that he was going to get rid of the homeless problem? They've been getting rid of the homeless for a while. Basically, anybody who's homeless, I guess the U.S. is in cahoots with China. They have some agreement making it to where people who are homeless on the streets in the U.S. Are subject now to Chinese research experiments and our research experiments. And that is all going to tie into DNA research and harvesting, all different manner of harvesting. Now, there are some of them who like to say that all of the targeted individuals, which is what they like to call most of the people that they've done this to, they like to just lump them all into the same category. And I heard one of the whistleblowers, who I like to kind of laugh and giggle and call a fake whistleblower. I don't know him personally, so I couldn't tell you, but it kind of seemed a little bit fake. But anyways, he was talking about how the targeted individuals were just so crazy, and they just zap. They're just baddies sometimes, and that there's no way that any of them can testify, in court, because they've got all this gear in their head and they've been implanted with all this stuff. So they couldn't, they wouldn't be able to properly testify for themselves anyways. And I just want to say that that's complete bullshit. So they not only did all of this heinous stuff to implant and inject and run all this game and experiment on people, just the most terrible, and send people in to be rapists and molesters and exploiters and, torturers and sacrificers, and hired all these different gangs and cults to attack individual civilians, and just all this trash that they did. Like having us trafficked from birth our entire lives and stuff like that, like exposing us to the most heinous crimes and atrocities and just committing those atrocities upon us, having us carry children from men that we don't even know, and they're never being able to get justice, never being really allowed to make any reports that, ever have any conclusion in any way. Some of us they had in MK Ultra projects and different military projects and different just dumb shit that they've done. They've just done a lot of really horrible, horrendous things. And then And then they made sure that they implanted us with a bunch of tech and injected a bunch of us with a bunch of different stupid things so that they could be like, oh, that person can't even testify, or they can't even speak up for themselves because they've just been we've just done so much to them. And it's like, wait a second, weren't you guys just trying to act like those targeted people were crazy and they didn't really have anything embedded or implanted or injected in them? And now you're saying that they're in fact so injected and implanted and bad off that they can't even testify for themselves in court. You guys have really thought this through, haven't you? Like, it's really bad. No, and their answer for anyone who speaks up about what's going on, their answer is just to get rid of that person. And that's always their answer, is just to get rid of, we'll just get rid of that. We'll just silence that person. We'll just make sure that that person goes to jail, or they're in a mental institution, or they're 6 feet under. We'll just silence or oppress them, or try to discredit them. And that's what it is as long as we can get to this person and get them injected or implanted with something, then we can say that that because they've been injected or implanted with this thing, now there's no telling when we put them on the stand, who's to say they might not just completely glitch out, or that something else might remotely take them over, or could they even be able to testify for themselves? Okay. And it's like, here's your answer, dorks, is that in certain circumstances, even children testify in court. Okay. It would be really sad if somebody really was that handicapped and you guys were abusing them to this level, and that you'd carried it out this long. That's not to say that that hasn't happened to anyone. I've been in households and seen people who were at least abused their entire life, and they were 30 years old and handicapped in a wheelchair and still being abused. But it's really bizarre that you guys, it's like they admit what they do, but then they don't admit what they do. It's almost just like the Epstein case. It's like, we're not going to admit what we did, but we're still going to put someone in prison for what we did. Like, we're not going to admit that we implanted and injected you with all of this tech. We're just going to say that because we did, that you're not invited to any courtrooms where anything real is going to happen. So basically, as soon as they get a hold of you and inject you with any of this stuff, it means that you, if you were human before, now you're just, because whatever Department of Defense or DARPA or whatever private contractor under the government injected you, or Elon Musk or whatever, because you have those materials in your body now they consider you property of whatever government or whatever private contractor. So you basically, they basically turn you into a slave the moment that they impose themselves on you and in you in any way. Well, the same people who have the technology in you and have it turned on, and are giving all of these people access, have all of these, selling all these people, a dude getting paid by month or whatever to, give access to all these different rich people who chose you, yes, you, as their nasty little guinea pig or target or plaything or slave or whatever. All of that access that other people are being given to you to remotely access you, to do things like make you go pee, throw turn you on, make you forget things, mess with your mood, potentially take your body over or take your mind over and make you say and do things that you don't really mean to say while you're on the stand. They have access to turn all of those programs off. Yeah, they can actually disconnect whatever feed that everyone has to you. They can disconnect all of that. They can turn all of that off and make it to where there's no interference from anyone, to where you can just, go sit on the stand if you need to and, answer whatever questions that you need. And there not be, a whole group of people watching, making everything in your life not confidential in any way and not private. They always have, and they do right now, have the ability to just turn it off. And they choose not to because they're making so much money exploiting us. And it's fun for them. That's what they want to continue to do. They don't know if their husbands and wives and girlfriends or boyfriends are really faithful. They want to see how they're going to react under certain circumstances. So before they let everybody else know, they're sticking these cameras in their boyfriends and girlfriends and husbands and wives and their neighbors and their kids and all these other people, and they're doing as much, they're wreaking as much havoc, and they're causing as much chaos and mayhem and destruction and genocide and massacres, and then they're just deleting the evidence afterwards because everything's digital now. So it's basically just perverted dudes who created a lot of problems, and they created a lot of loopholes for themselves to get themselves out of trouble and to keep everyone else in a perpetual state of trouble with them, even though they're the bad guys. It's a lot of people using science and technology and genetics, law enforcement. They're just abusing all these different aspects of the system in all these different ways. And the worst part about it really is that when they put you on these lists and they start doing this crap to you, and this is also another shitty part of the MK Ultra project, is that it doesn't stop with just you. They want to do it on the next generation too, and they want to continue their control and their fake testing and their injections and implants and all this stuff. And, these people are really suffering. Like, my family and I, my children and I, we have really suffered through all of this. Like, you don't see them here with me, do you? It's that bad. There's a lot of broken families. There's a lot of men and women who were trafficked. They might not have all been sex trafficked, but I promise you that they tried to sex traffic every single one of them, because that's just all the more money for each and every person. It's just all about getting as much money out of that body as possible. What ways can you get out of a body? What kind of ways that, there's pictures, there's video, there's exploitation. You've got that. You've got pimping somebody out firsthand. You've got the dividing up of all of their assets, casting lots for that person's everything. They divide up our properties. They divide up our assets. They divide up our families. And we don't even have to be dead yet. They have life insurance policies on me. They already filled one of them, and they said that I was dead in one state. They say that they make sure that people who are in the Freemasons are the ones who run all of the X-ray machines. They say that Freemasons and Eastern Stars have infiltrated radiology, basically. and that they make sure that no one can get a hold of their own scans, sonograms, ultrasounds, anything like that. Nobody can actually see any of that or be shown any of that. They have to wait for a doctor to come out and specially explain anything that anyone sees and decides to tell you about, which the majority of the time, unless they absolutely have to, they're just going to tell you that there's nothing. There's nothing there. They see nothing. Nothing's happening. There's no explanation for anything that's happening to you. Go home. And that's what they're allowed to tell these people who have who've been injected or implanted, who are on these lists, these targeted people or whatever, which used to be only a little bit of people who were speaking up, and now it's quite a lot. And the level of extreme, abuse, it's gone to a whole other dimension. Other ways that people were making money off of bodies were, of course, organ harvesting. Skin ends up being something that people really want. Eyes. They would present one person who everybody was, mad about or angry about or jealous of for one reason or another, and they would auction that person off, buy their organs. One group in one country, one billionaire would buy somebody's liver, another person would buy the heart, another person would pay for, different parts of the body, making it to where now there's even more millions that are going towards attacking this targeted person. I mean, it gets complex. We're not just being targeted by our own, FBI anymore, the way that we knew that it was back whenever the terrorist training camps opened with the FBI fusion centers 20-some years ago. It's not just that anymore. The U.S. government actually, they've either always given the permission, or at some point they started giving permission to outside governments and foreign agents to come in and personally attack civilians. And one person tried to say, Mami Wata tried to say that the person who was sent into SA Me in an invisibility suit, which was filmed, they say that the person who did that is from South America. She tried to say that he was already sent back to South America or whatever. But, so it's all of these other people, feds, federal agents, military agents, all different kinds of people, researchers, people from all over the world, practitioners. There's plenty of people who actually see and know what's happened and have been a part of what's gone on. I had a kid by one of those people, and I don't know them. So, you're not going to tell me that I'm crazy when I had a whole child by one of these people that you guys paid to watch and monitor and hover over me. And then, they don't just do it to us, but they also implant and inject those kids. And then they sell those kids and divide up their assets. The state will take kids, and then they'll say, we had to make them ward of the state, so we had to just take your rights and take your kids, so now we can't tell you what happened to them. And that very well may be when they are turning the kid out and exploiting them. And then, they could be live streaming some of those kids in the end. And, I've heard that they send some of them into the tunnels and underground cities And then I've heard that a lot of organ harvesting goes on to the kids who end up in foster care. I've even seen videos on YouTube where these foster moms were complaining that their foster children were organ harvested from. So that's like a number one thing, is that as long as the state is steadily taking these children, it means that the federal government can bank off of their organs and so on. So it's not just the state who takes your kids and benefits from your kids in a really sick way. It's the entire government who's responsible for it all. It's truly sick and twisted, and they use child protective services to traffic the children and the parents and to have them killed. And it's generally all for, organ harvesting. So anyways, that's a little bit more about Neuralinking. I'm just going to end it there for now. And I'm sure I'll be back with something else here after a bit. All right, peace.